Here we are at the Mammoth Cave National Park Service, a World Heritage Site and International Biosphere Reserve. We're going to take a quick look at the trail map over here, and it looks like we're going to be headed out to the visitor center. Headed to the next location.
Sir, that is my seat. So folks, there goes your last chance. It's too late now, you're stuck with us. Again, folks, my name is Ranger Jeff. Ranger Quentin went down to get our cave open for us. And while he's doing that, I have to show you this. It's going to be the most important thing I cover today. It's the do's and don'ts. And put it this way, we don't want anything else to happen because this thing getting kind of full back and front. One side says health and safety, the other side says resource protection. Folks, if you have heart problems, breathing problems, trouble walking long distances, negotiating stairs, or any other health concerns, please consider those. Evacuation for this cave can and does take several hours. We don't have a magic button to get people to you, and we don't have that magic button to get you out very quickly. Stay on the trails. Don't go down a side passageway. Folks, when I go home tonight at 6 o'clock, I'm not coming back into this cave until tomorrow morning sometime. I don't go look for people. What I do is if I notice somebody's missing, I walk over, pick up a phone, and I call somebody, and they come look for you. And you don't want to meet those folks inside the cave. It also says don't litter or remove anything. There are stuff in the cave that are artifacts that look like trash because they were put down there 50 to 100 years ago, and now they call it historic trash. So leave it be, just don't add to it, don't take any rocks or anything out of there, just leave everything the way we're seeing it. It actually says do not touch, write, or mark on the walls or ceilings. We're going to see writing on the walls all throughout this whole way through. Visitors were actually encouraged at one point to write their names on the wall. There was people standing there, those that were encouraging them, expecting something in their hand. Today, if you get caught, and trust me, you will get caught trying to do that, and there'll be another guy come up and hand you a ticket, and you really don't want it. We ask that you do not touch the cave. We carry oil and dirt that will stain and damage the cave on our hands. And honestly, if you want to know what Mammoth Cave feels like, there's a whole bunch of rocks out here. I mean, it's the same. Folks, we're going into a man-made entrance. This entrance was put in the 1930s, along with that entrance right over there. If you do the Violet City Lantern Tour, you go into that historic entrance, you come out right there 3 hours later. We can go in this entrance right here, same passageway, and to be at the visitor center in about 8 hours. But the whole idea of these two entrances was because of the fact that these were end of tour routes, or halfway points in tour route, and it gave ease of access to these sections of cave. As we go down the stairs, not only pay attention to the stairs, but the ceiling. The ceiling will be low for some people. Welcome you folks to Mammoth Cave, the world's longest cave system at 426 miles. Well folks, we didn't become the world's longest cave system until September 9th of 1972. But we became the 26th National Park on July 1st, 1941. Don't think it had anything to do with the length of the cave, because they only do about 40-some miles. But what you got to realize is Mammoth Cave was discovered about 5,000 to 6,000 years ago. The early woodland, late archaic early woodland people that were living in the area, they discovered the historic entrance. They explored about 20 miles of Mammoth. And then that group disappeared. In the 1790s, Europeans were coming into this area, and lo and behold, they rediscovered Mammoth Cave, and they started utilizing it to make saltpeter out of the dirt for nitrates for gunpowder, which escalated for the War of 1812. And then the crazy thing happened in 1816 was somebody showed up and was willing to pay to follow two complete strangers into a big dark hole in the middle of nowhere, Kentucky. And the crazy thing is that still happens today. Once people started coming, escalated up to the point of 1830s when the cave was sold. 1838 it was sold to a local gentleman, a lawyer out of Glasgow, Kentucky, by the name of Franklin Gorn. Franklin Gorn only owns the cave about a year, and he turns around and sells it to a guy by the name of Dr. John Cron, who would be the last true owner of certain parts of Mammoth Cave. In that time, there was a young man who came to Mammoth Cave. His name was Stephen Bishop, an enslaved individual, and Stephen learned the tour routes. But folks, Stephen was curious about where passageways went. And with the help of a visitor, he crossed the bottomless pit on a wooden ladder with a lantern, and he gets to the other side to continue to explore. He would find what we call Fat Man's Misery today. He would discover the underground rivers, curiosity leading him on, pushing him forward. And lo and behold, he crosses those underground rivers. He walks up about 2 miles to a big T intersection. He could go straight or he could go to the right. He came to the right and he walks. He's walking through this passageway and he comes to a big hill. And he decides to climb up that loose rocks, and he's standing right here, and he sees this big passageway. He goes up there and explores and sees that it dead ends in a big vertical cave passageway that they would call the Maelstrom. Cave stops just on the other side of it. He would go up here and go clear past where we came in and find out that the cave ends there. And then he would find this passageway back here that goes back about a quarter mile. And he dead end. As Stephen is exploring, the tours are getting longer and longer. If you had showed up before 1838, the tour was just a short tour, 6 to 8 hours round trip. Folks, if you came back and took that long tour in 1840, that long tour ended up here. It took 6 to 8 hours to get here, which meant it took another 6 to 8 hours to get back. Could you imagine being in a cave 12, 14, 16 hours? What they didn't tell visitors until they got them here, that this was their halfway point. They ended up calling this place Dismal Hollow. You realized all the stuff you had to do to get here. Yeah, you're going to have to do it to get back. They put that entrance in the 1930s to allow for that ease of access if something went wrong on that tour. Lo and behold, we use it for our longer walking tour today. Folks, this big canyon passageway, this is typical Mammoth Cave. And we're going to leave this passageway. We're going to drop down into Cleveland Avenue. But later on, when we get to a place called the Forks of the Cave, we're going to be about a mile from where I'm standing in that direction. Yeah, we just got to walk a mile and a half to get. Follow me, folks. Past, Parker Cleveland wrote the book on mineralogy in North America. He's a very, very well-talented professor in rhetoric and theology, mathematics, and all that good stuff. He taught it. Then went up to Frozen College in Maine. Crazy thing about Parker Cleveland is that he never came to Mammoth Cave as far as we can tell. But some of his students might have. In fact, we know of one. One that you adults should know. A guy by the name of Ralph Waldo Emerson. He walked right through here. Maybe that's why it was called Cleveland Avenue, because he talked up Parker Cleveland. You gotta not go somewhere and get something named after you.
A question.
Yes.
Besides the saltpeter that they use, are there other valuable minerals or gems or?
It all depends on what you consider valuable, sir. There's no diamonds, gold, rubies, anything like that, because if there was, they would have ripped the top off of this place with a couple million pounds of dynamite. But there are other things, and I'm glad you asked this question because we see one of these other things. And to understand what we're looking at, we got to talk a little bit of the geology of Mammoth Cave, because geology of Mammoth Cave is different than other caves. We walked in, we see that big passageway. We walked almost a mile, and we have not seen what most people think they're going to see inside of Mammoth Cave, and that is stalactites and stalagmites. Now, I'm not picking on teachers at all, because I've seen the textbooks. I remember when they taught cave formations, the stalactites and the stalagmites, they didn't teach us about anything else with cave formation, because there's other cave formations in here. And this is one of them. This cave formation formed after the water left. So water came through here, carving out the limestone rock. The reason we don't have the stalactites and stalagmites is not because of the rock here, but because of the rock that's above it. The rock above it is sandstone and shale. It works like the roof and gutter system on your house to keep the water from coming in to make those stalactites and stalagmites. Folks, the water flowed through here, floor to ceiling. Geologists have a fancy name to call a passageway that we're standing in. Squish football shaped, floor to ceiling water. They call it a phreatic tube. Basically, all that means is it formed at or below the water table. And when the water left, that's when these big rocks came down. And then this formation started to form in here. So just because the water left doesn't mean all the water left. Inside of the limestone is moisture. That water interacts with another mineral called iron pyrite. You folks are familiar with that one. Fool's gold. As it interacts with it, reactions occurring, it creates sulfuric acid. Folks, that's a bad acid to have. But thankfully, the limestone rock interacts with that acid to neutralize it into hydrogenated calcium sulfate, this stuff, in liquid form. And then the cave does something that every single one of us is going to do today, sweat. And as that solution is pulled out, the water out of that solution is evaporated away, and we're left with this crystalline mineral known as calcium sulfate. How many people are familiar on this tour with calcium sulfate? What is the most common use of calcium sulfate? Gypsum, drywall, plaster of Paris, fertilizer, medicine, paint. It's also found in Twinkies, bread, beer, cheese, wine. This stuff forms in these dry passageways. It forms about the thickness of your fingernail in about 300 to 500 years. And folks, you could scratch this stuff with your fingernail. That's how soft it is. When Stephen Bishop discovered this passageway, he said it looked like stalks of celery hanging off the walls and ceilings. The floor crunched with this gypsum as he walked down these passageways. Now, as we're looking at this beautiful stuff up here, it can make tendrils and snowballs. It can be reds and browns and greens and blues because other impurities in it. But it's absolutely beautiful. Some of it actually looks like cake icing. Coating on Pringles potato chips. But as we go from here where the ceiling's taller over to the wall, it's not as pretty over here. And that's because visitors were allowed to do things we're not allowed to do today. Some of them are absolutely crazy. Like write your name on the wall, shoot guns, take souvenirs. They were taking this stuff out. But these visitors were coming along and they would collect this as they were making their way to Dismal Hollow. They would pile them up alongside of their trail, and when they come back, they sorted through and took the best out. But here's the problem with this stuff. It's fragile. It can break easily. Rubbing against each other, the pieces rubbing against each other are going to start to erode it away. It gets wet. It disappears. Folks, when we came out of the cave, it looked like at any moment it could just pour down the rain. Which means when they got out, after crossing 2 underground rivers, and got to the surface, it could be raining and that stuff would just slowly disappear. We do know that Parker Cleveland had a mineral sample of this gypsum out of Mammoth Cave. It was about 18 inches long. Pretty decent sized piece that survived. Might be the only piece that survived. Gypsum formations in here. In here are kind of more pristine. If you take a historic tour and you're walking down through the passageways over there, you get back about the Giant's Coffin, you'll notice this black stuff on the walls and ceiling. It's the same stuff. That gypsum has the ability to absorb carbon out of the torches and the lantern smoke that they used to get through the cave. And those torches, I'm talking about those first people to enter Mammoth Cave 5,000 to 6,000 years ago. They came into Mammoth Cave, they stripped the walls and the ceilings of this. They never made it over here because none of this would be left. And the crazy thing about that is, artifacts all along that 20 miles that they visited, but you get outside the cave and there's nothing. No trace of it whatsoever because it dissolves when it gets wet. It's kind of frustrating for our archaeologists. As things progressed into the 1900s, more people are showing up at Mammoth Cave, and there was this crazy idea that when they put that entrance in, that they would build a lunch counter down here in the cave. That lunch counter operated clear up into 2014, 2015. So up ahead, we're going to see the old lunch counter. They left it in place. It's going to be to the left. We're going to stay to the right. As we go, when we first see the lunch counter, like all these stacked rocks clear to the ceiling. And we're going to go to the right of that. There's going to be 2 water fountains with potable water. And around the corner, the first stack of rocks is the men's, the second stack is the women, and there's going to be some benches there. And we're going to gather up on those benches. This will be our first restroom stop as we walk through that first area where the picnic tables and lunch counter is. That is the snowball dining room because of the snowballs on the ceiling. So folks, we're going to move forward from here. But folks, we're going to talk just a little bit about our tour of Stephen, our history. Stephen came in from over here in the darkness, and we're going to see that in just a moment. There's a T intersection. He came from the left up, and the part that goes that direction doesn't go very far. So we're going to go to the right, and we're going to drop down into Boone Avenue. If you've ever seen a slot canyon out west, it's similar to that. The only difference is our temperature is going to be in about the mid-50s today. We've got a really good roof over top of ours. But we're going to make our way through there. Stephen would come this way. He would go that way some, but it's kind of interesting. They didn't go a whole lot in that direction. They didn't go that far in that direction because they realized they might be trespassing on other people's property. And if a landowner on the surface found out that you're underneath their property, that's going to be bad news for you. The one landowner would end up being this small little company called the L&N Railroad. They bought a piece of Mammoth Cave. They knew that they were buying some of Mammoth Cave, and their idea was to build a hotel and put an entrance in and cash in on Mammoth Cave, but they never put the entrance in. And out of our story, there was one gentleman here at Mammoth Cave that worked with the railroad to lease that piece of property. And that would make things kind of interesting in his story. Yeah, Mammoth Cave Estates, who Stephen worked for, they didn't own where we're headed. They didn't even have permission to be back there. As we go forward, things are going to change. We're going to get into that slot canyon, and it gets harder and harder. Folks, if you thought the last mile was hard, you do have that option of that elevator. Because when we walk by that light switch over there, that's pretty much the point of no return. It gets harder as we go. So that's something to consider. Folks, the next place I will see you is a place called the First of the Cave.
Going through the slot canyon at Mammoth Cave now. Can't really see too much in here. It's pretty dark. Oh, now you can't even see up into this passage. Look at that hole up there. And now we're going back up some stairs out of the slot canyon. And we're up out of the stairs. Now we're into a wider canyon. And here we have a big endless pit. Where's this camera going? Look down. Endless pit. Wow, this is a very, very big slot canyon here. And looks like we got another slot up that way. And here's a rock about to fall on our head. As you can see, it is a very narrow path. You can see where people wrote their names. Ooh, look how lighted up it is up there. Nice and pretty. Interesting, you see how the top curves out as the water grows and settled. Here we're coming into a nice big cavern that looks like it had a multi-passage. Water ran down from there, right up there. And we lost our tour guide. Now's the time to escape. Oh, and he comes around from the other side to catch you trying to hide from him.
Won't work.
Here you can see we're coming into another huge opening. Here's an interesting clay formation. They're close. The bottom ones are gone a little bit. Just big, giant, open caverns.
It's called Margaret's Fountain and the Devil's Bathtub.
And another light switch out. These little waves, wavy formations up here. Tons and tons of walking. Few head duckers here. I think this is a little short for me. Oh, great. This is a ducking spot for if you're 6 foot tall. Look at this big open room. Looks like a fun place. Giant caverns. We're on our way to the mountain. Going into another room. It just keeps going and going. I think we're going up about 200 stairs. Here behind me, you can see still keeps going up higher and higher back into that spot. We are to another bathroom break. This is the Grand Canyon. The old trail is up there on the top. We are going down to the bottom. Look at that freaking brown rock up there. A little bit of a narrow spot. Moving right along here through the Grand Canyon. And you can see why they call it that. Pretty huge. You can see how low these things are. They are right at my head. Sure looks like somebody had a fire in here. All black. How black that spot is. Oh yeah, we're going into a really narrow spot now. Just enough room for my head to get through. We walk through the passage. All right, now we're in this huge giant passage. As you can see, it is a massive, massive cavern. More than 300 feet back to the one side. And then as far as you can see the other direction, it's in a huge cavern. This is about a 4-mile trip, 1,500 steps. We're somewhere in the middle, approximately 200 feet underground. Wow, and look how it opens up into a massive, giant cavern. Many, many feet up and down. Oh, the color of these rocks, it sure appears somebody was burning a fire right there. Oh, so we're off to another passage now. I think this one's a lot of extra walking. Wow, look how this one opens up. Huge place. As you can see, more than a couple hundred feet around. Lots of steps. Very nice in here. 55 degrees. Looks like there used to be another route that way. But in the meantime, we're going to be heading down the normal steps. Lots of steps. This is definitely a hard tour to go on. Hopefully we're getting to the down steps. No more of these up steps, because that is a long, long way. Something coming up here that decided nobody needs to touch. Too many people couldn't keep their fingers off of the wall, so they decided to cover everything. Look at these things. Somebody wrote their name. Every one of those circles was a formation that somebody broke off. You can literally see they were cracked. Look right there, they broke them off.
You're gonna have to duck.
All these broke off. Lots of names written in the wall.
Oh my god.
Let's see if we're gonna make it. Oh, just made it. A little bit of a backup. Looks like this is some place where you can end up on your own right here. And we're going up more stairs. You can see how far ahead the people get of us. And here we're at a classroom or auditorium. Now we're into another little tight passage. And we lost everybody. Here you can see huge opening here as we're inside of this passage, pretty much alone. Can come into another one and you'll see how they look, and then you can literally see where everybody puts their hand right there. And we just bend down to get through this one, and we're into another one that's completely closed in. Going through some more corner swivels. And up we go. We got a survey marker right there. This one's a long ways up. So these rocks fell over afterwards, after the concrete was put in. You gotta do a lot of leaning over in this thing. And we're going back down. Pretty steep. Right here, somebody thought they could write their name. Yeah, it's pretty steep. And we're to flat ground again. And more steps. Oh, we're on our way back up. Looks like we made it to another classroom. They must have been doing a lot of educational things in this place. Thank God for the humidity. We're not breathing in dry air. And there's our lantern. It's like a little paper rock. All right. Some more little passages. Another steep hill. And we're just somewhere flat again. Ooh, it's nice and spooky down here. Just giant room after giant room. How do these rooms, they just keep going and going? The rooms never stop going. We're almost there. We're to a bridge. Man, we are way far behind. Wow, look at this room. These huge areas, just empty space. Up we go.
And in 1926, when Mammoth Cave was designated to become your national park, the state of Kentucky was deemed to be in charge of buying up property, so they created 2 commissions to do so. And they were going around to people and buying properties out. They bought part of Mammoth Cave Estate out, and the other lands sold out as well. that owned interest in that. They came to George and asked George Morrison how much it would take for him to sell his piece of cake. I looked at him and he said $1 million. So I thank George for that. We're gonna make our way through up here, folks. And you know, we came over on 2 buses, and Quentin, I haven't lost enough, right?
No.
Okay. So that means we gotta go back on 2 buses. So this is the last spot you'll hear me talk. What'll happen is folks, I'll be outside to answer any questions. But folks, on behalf of Ranger Quentin, myself, Mammoth Cave National Park, and the National Park Service, folks, thank you for your time today.
And we're on our way up the stairs and heading out of the cave. Oh, here's all the writing. What does that say? 26?
1926, yes.
Yes. Almost up and out of here. Just saw a bunch of writing on the wall.
This is your option. You want that optional 48 stairs down to the left. If not, just stay right here.
We are going to head into this room here, an extra 48 steps. Looks like it's raining. Unbelievable entrance as we move our way in and down. An extra 48 steps. Ooh, look at these things to the side. It's like a whole sheet. Oh, look at these things on this side. Ooh. Like spider webs. And then like a whole wall of this stuff. This is called the drapery room. Let's see how smooth a lot of this stuff is. And then you see this crazy formation up top.
Sorry, there's somebody here. Thank you so much. Thank you. Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Thank you. We can take yours as well.
Oh, yes. Sure.
Super great.
Wow. Isn't that incredible?
Oh, that is incredible.
My turn next.
Of course.
Oh,
You might please just check it out just in case.
oh, that's
Get over
great.
here.
Thank you.
One.
Yeah, no problem.
Oh, yes.
You can kind of see how far down that was. Oh, my head. We are making our way through here slowly. This rock is infected.
I know.
It's infected with something.
Looks like, doesn't it? You know what it is? Hands.
Oh, they're hands?
It's hands that have touched this. It's at least the smoothness. The smoothness. All that's created by water, but the smoothness of it.
It's the hands, yeah.
Careful, guys.
Yeah, you can see everywhere they touch. Oh, look at these.
Yeah.
They had to be behind a cage so nobody touches them.
When you can't touch something, I want to touch it on the more.
Those are so pretty. Very nice.
Well, look at that one.
Big, big. Somebody's tickets, not mine.
You think they could get me if I did a nosedive off here?
Is there water?
That's water all the way down.
Woo!
That's awesome.
Awesome. Wow.
Stick with me, people, I'll show you the good
Oh my gosh, how wonderful.
Whoa.
Can't get the like.
Let me make sure it's recording.
I can't
You can't capture the.
It's I'm trying.
Oh man.
Super nice.
Stick here. Oh my gosh, straight ahead, guys. Wow. Oh wow.
They have so many.
Yeah.
That's nothing for me. Like me going to work. You know?
Here's where all the stalactites are at.
Oh no!
It's-
Are you okay?
Yeah,
Oh, I heard it.
yeah, I just gotta be careful.
Let's look about one here, there.
We are on our way out of the cave. We had a great time
Have to count them.
exploring Mammoth Cave. Please like and subscribe.
Take your word for it.
It was wonderful walking through this cave. And we're out. We have survived. We have made our way out. Thanks for watching, everybody. And now we're headed back to the visitor center. We're on the Mammoth bus. There's a turkey right there. And here we are arriving back at the visitor center and the Mammoth Cave Lodge. And here we're getting ready to walk across the anti-fungus mat. And on we go to this fungus mat. This is the Mammoth Cave stage line. They delivered the U.S. mail